to the John Ark Show. Today, we're going to interview actor Michael Pare. Michael has starred in great films like Streets of Fire, Eddie and the Cruisers, The Philadelphia Experiment, and The Lincoln Lawyer. Before we begin, I want to encourage you to subscribe to our channel for free. You can also like, comment, and follow us. We're going to have a lot of great celebrity interviews coming up, so make sure to click on the notification bell so you can be notified every time we upload a new episode. I'd also like to tell you about a service called HollywoodIsCalling.com. It allows you to purchase live phone calls from over 100 celebrities for just $19.95. It's something you can buy for yourself or for someone you know as a gift. Give it a try. HollywoodIsCalling.com. Now, let's say hello to Michael Pare. Hello, Michael. Welcome to the John Ark Show. How are you today, sir?
I'm good, John. I'm real good. I'm here in California. It's like almost 90 degrees on, I guess it's still spring, right?
Yeah.
So I'm happy and pretty lucky, I guess, to be working in the entertainment industry.
Yeah. Especially in this day and age. So, Michael, you've had a tremendous career and you've appeared in many fantastic movies. Before we get into it, tell us how you got your start.
Well, it's a real interesting story. I'll try to make it, concise.
Okay.
When I was about 22 years old, I was about 20 years old. I was working on Columbus Avenue in Manhattan. I had gone to the CIA, the Culinary Institute of America. So I was like a chef, and I had dreams of having a restaurant in New York one day. My girlfriend was a cocktail waitress down the avenue, and after work, I would go and wait for her to get off. And just coincidentally, not that it was why I was there because she worked there. It was a show business bar. The news guys from ABC would hang out there, like Bill Butel and Roger Grimsby, and the stagehands from Madison Square Garden. And it's the Upper West Side. So there used to be this agent who hung out there once in a while. And she sat down next to me one night and explained that she was an agent and she thought I might have a chance of becoming an actor. And she said, listen, I said, look, I'm a chef. I'm going to have a restaurant someday. This is my life. And she said, well, just give it a chance. Mm-hmm. And I said, look, I work nights. I can't. And she said, you can go to class during the day. So about a month after that, she sent me to Carnegie Hall to study with a guy named Robert Modica. And I studied for about a year there. And then I went on to these scene study classes down in the village at H.B. Bergdorf and with this guy, Mervyn Nelson. And I even studied a little bit at Uta Hagen School. So that's what I was doing. And it was getting to the end of my tryout. And there was a cattle call going on in New York for ABC's talent development program. And a woman named Joyce Selznick, who was the daughter of David O. Selznick, was, running this show for ABC. And I went in, I auditioned, and she gave me the contract. And I came out to California, and my first job was Greatest American Hero.
Do you remember the first scene you shot in the first movie you did? And were you a bit nervous, or did you feel like you were doing exactly what you were meant to be doing?
Well, the very first scene I ever got paid to do, right, because I was studying for 2 years before I got my job, was on Greatest American Hero. And there's a scene in the television pilot where Billy Catt, he's a teacher with at-risk kids, and he takes us on this field trip out to the desert, and we pull over to this diner, and I go into the diner, and there's Robert Culp. And me playing a wise guy, high school kid, I pull my knife on him, and he points his gun at me. And that's kind of how we met. So did I know I was doing exactly what I should be doing? I'm not sure, because I felt like I won the lottery. For the 2 years I was training in New York, everybody dreamt of working. And here I was working, and I was getting paid like amazing money compared to what a chef gets paid. And it was like, wow, I can't believe they're paying me to do this. And then I later found out that that's what Babe Ruth always used to say.
So the first time I saw you was in a great movie called Streets of Fire with Diane Lane. It was one of the brilliant things about the movie was that it appeared to be set simultaneously in both the past and in the future. How did you get that job, and how did you enjoy working on that film?
Well, I had done a movie called Eddie and the Cruisers, which was kind of they call it a cult classic. It was one of those anomalies where it was in the movie theaters for about 2 weeks. It didn't do so well. But then when it went to HBO, it kind of exploded with the soundtrack and everything. And then they put it back in the theater. So my agents, I was with a big agency. I was with ICM at the time. And, they saw that movie and they thought, let's get a newcomer to play Tom Cody. And that's pretty much how it happened. I met with Walter and Joel Silver and Rick Moranis and not Diane yet. And it was all at Universal. And they pretty much just sent me over to wardrobe and started doing fittings that day. And, I started about, 3 weeks later, we were shooting in Chicago.
So I'm curious.
Daryl Hannah was there that day because Daryl Hannah was going to play Diane Lane's role. And Diane was going to do the role in the movie with Tom Hanks about the mermaid, Splash. Mm-hmm. But then Diane said, I'll do Streets of Fire because I'm going to get to sing. And, she had done another movie called The Fabulous Stains. So, it was just lucky that Diane came on because I think there was a magical kind of chemistry, between us. I was hopelessly in love with her, but she was like this girl who was like far beyond my station. So I was in love, but I couldn't touch her. And that's pretty much the relationship that Tom Cody had with her. I don't know if you remember the scene, but I said, listen, I'm not the kind of guy to carry a guitar case, but if you ever need me, just whistle. So it was that relationship that I think translated to film very well.
Interesting. I'll tell you a funny story. When I first saw the movie, I remember thinking Diane Lane looked an awful lot like rock star Joan Jett. Then we fast forward a few years into the future, and I'm working as a producer, and I meet Joan Jett, and we're hanging out. And the entire time, I'm thinking, she looks a lot like Diane Lane. Did you think that Diane was cast in that role because she looked like Joan?
No, but they did capitalize on the name. Joan Jett and Ellen Aim.
Right.
It's kind of reminiscent of each other.
And
Joan Jett was around much earlier than Diane. I mean, Joan Jett was probably 30 when Diane was only 17.
And did Diane ever flirt with you during the making of the movie, or it just never went there?
No, she was like I say, she was kind of angelic. She was like a real sweet, innocent girl. It's not like you're ever alone. Right. And she was staying in a hotel. I lived in Malibu, so it's not like we had time to hang around. And to be honest, I think it would have spoiled it if I had hit on her, and even if she had gone for it.
Yeah. There's a YouTube clip of Diane making an appearance on the Johnny Carson show for the first time at the age of 18. And she walks onto the set and she kisses Ed McMahon, but she doesn't kiss Johnny Carson. And you can see Johnny immediately get very jealous and upset on the video. I don't know if you've seen the video or not, but if you haven't, check it out on YouTube. It's very funny. And you're right, she looks really young. So you did another movie called Eddie and the Cruisers, which generated, some great songs like Tender Years. People don't realize how difficult it is to make a good movie and how difficult it is to make hit songs. And it is almost statistically impossible to do both at the same time. Was that just providence causing everything to fall into place, or was it a lot of hard work that made both possible, the hit movie and the hit songs all combining?
I think a lot of it was magic, because we didn't know what kind of songs we were going to use even after we started shooting. We had Southside Johnny and the Asbury Jukes was one technical advisor. And that's a certain kind of music, right? That's, almost like, Frank Sinatra. And then there was Kenny Vance, who was with Jay and the Americans, and that was the a cappella group, Jay and the Americans, right? And at the last minute, they decided to go full on, New Jersey Shore bar band rock and roll. So it wasn't really designed. It just kind of happened.
Now, when you were approaching the end of filming for both Eddie and the Cruisers and Streets of Fire, on either of those movies, did you have the feeling that you were working on something really special, or is that impossible to tell until you see it on the screen?
Well, after we finished, and they gave me a tape of Dark Side, because they still had VHS then, right? And a lot of people reacted to that. They were like, "Oh my God, Michael, do you know what this is?" And I wasn't quite sure, but I felt like it was getting lucky. But it's funny. Right after Eddie and the Cruisers, like a month later, I got offered a job in Australia to play, a promoter in 1922. And so I left Hollywood and went over to Australia for 10 weeks, and I was completely out of town and out of touch with all of the hype that was going on before the movie came out.
Mm. So you also did a science fiction movie called The Philadelphia Experiment that was about traveling through time and moving through dimensions. How did that movie come to you, and how did you enjoy working on it?
Well, this was another movie that was just offered to me at the time. John Carpenter wrote the original script, but he couldn't figure out how to end it. And so he didn't want to direct it because he didn't have an ending. And when he sold it, they came up with the romance to end the movie with Nancy Allen and I. Mm. I'll be honest, when I read the script, I had read the book about that. It was called The Philadelphia Experiment. It was a novel. My brother was an engineer at Lockheed Martin at the time. So, no, he was going to RPI. Rensselaer, which was one of the best engineering schools in America. Mm-hmm. And he came home from school with this book about the Philadelphia Experiment, and I read it, and it was like, "Are you kidding me? This was real?" He goes, "Absolutely. I mean, you don't know what we're working on out there." And when the script came to me, and I had already told them, I said, "Oh, I know that Einstein, Opperman, Tesla, L. Ron Hubbard were all involved in the Philadelphia Experiment, and it really happened. And they generated this incredibly powerful magnetic field, which opened a warp in our dimension, and that it fell through and came back is just amazing." And look at the minds that were involved in the experiment. Tesla was one of these people they think was like an alien, maybe, or definitely inspired to the possibilities. If you could recreate gravity, which nobody can really explain, that's what they were doing. That whole ship was just one big electromagnetic generator.
Yeah, and if there are any people out there who have any doubt, then they should all know that 5 minutes after Tesla passed away, and he died in a hotel room that he was living in, 5 minutes after he passed away, the U.S. government came in with agents and seized all his notes, confiscated all his equipment. So that tells you a lot, I think. Whoops.
There we go. Yeah, I know. It's, and now there's UFO disclosure coming up, and it's on regular primetime news. That there's definitely something going on, and there's something going on every day off the coast of Virginia, your neighborhood, right? I mean, gosh, man, you have to really think that maybe there was something back after World War II when the United States got the bomb first, and that's why we are the way we are now, instead of a fascist Germany or imperial Japan. They were all working on it.
Yeah. So, we've noticed something really interesting, a very interesting phenomena with regards to some of the movies you've made. When they first come out, people really love them. But then over time, with VHS, DVDs, and streaming services, your movies get even more popular. Do you think that some of your movies were just ahead of their time and it took the audience a little bit of time to catch up?
Well, it's a lot of it's about marketing. Like the guy who was in charge of distributing Eddie and the Cruisers, this guy, Andrew Sugarman, he's still in business. He just didn't think the movie was going to work. And so he pulled his financing for the marketing. And then when it hit HBO, it was like, boom, boy, did you make a mistake? And the movie made it cost like $3.5 million in 1982, but it made like $8 million in the box office, but the record made 22 million. And now, like 35 years later, it's made, a lot of money. So, and Streets of Fire, we opened opposite Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark. So, and they were both shot at Universal. One was Spielberg and one was Walter Hill, and Spielberg was their boy.
Yeah.
So, and Philadelphia Experiment, that was created just before the popularity of CGI. If we had CGI, it would have been much more amazing. We could have created, the vortex would have been more vivid and more exciting. But as it was, people recognize me for those three movies like right away. Mm. You're the guy from that movie.
Yeah. Tell me how working in Hollywood has evolved over the years. What major changes have you seen in the people, the movie making process, and the economics of Hollywood that really stand out in your mind over the years?
Well, when I came to Hollywood, they still shot everything on 35 millimeter. Even Greatest American Hero was shot on 35 millimeter film, which is a much slower process, and film is much more expensive than digital. So there was a lot more thought and preparation that went into it, and the post was also very carefully done. So it was, look, we shot Eddie and the Cruisers. It took us 40 shooting days.
Wow.
They're shooting movies now for like 14 days. Is very popular. That's and that's because, well, you have digital, you can have two cameras, a smaller crew because the lighting, bada bing, it's cheaper, quicker, faster, but that's not always good.
Michael,
It's like the creative process. Sometimes it's not good to do it fast. Other times, I mean, look at Picasso started painting paintings like in one stroke, but in the beginning it was a slower, more creative process, and there was more thought. And you look at Van Gogh, he would change the painting. It took him months to create a painting. But then later on, they do it in one day and it becomes like something else. I think the big thing now is, like, I'm going to direct soon. And I've been in development and not on anybody's paycheck for like 3 months, getting ready to make this movie. Working with the writer, working with the DP, working with the line producer, because when we get those 14 days to shoot this movie, I can't make any mistakes. I can't shoot stuff that's not going to be in the movie because I only have 14 12-hour days, and that's how much time I have to tell a story, an exciting story. And hopefully, there's 3 things I heard. You want a laugh, a tear, and a shock. That's what you need to entertain the audience.
is there anything you can tell us about the subject matter of the movie, or is that not possible yet?
It's a thriller.
Mm-hmm.
There's a terrorist, but it's not religious terrorist.
Are you going to film it in Florida?
We're going to film it in Phoenix.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
What time of the year?
And it takes place on the Concorde.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, I'm a huge fan of over preparation. I really am. And when I hear a director has to take 75 takes to get the shot right, I always wonder what's missing there. Did he not prepare properly? Is he doing too much dope off camera? What's going on? And the fact that you're preparing as intensively as you are with your pre-production, I think that bodes well for your effort.
Yeah, the line producer I'm meeting now. We're going to go to Arizona and scout all the other locations, and we'll bring a DP with us. So we'll have our shot list pretty much at 80% before we come in for the walkthroughs, which will be, we roll camera on June 21st. So we scout now. We'll come back. I'll work with the writer again and polish the script a little bit more. You can't polish the script too much. And I'm meeting with the lead actress, not every day, but we're on the phone a lot talking about what is required from her character. And man, if you want to do it, they don't pay you enough to do it right. You got to put in that free time. And I have this line: I'm grateful to be employed in the entertainment industry, and I'm really happy to be here. If they let me shoot this, which we've already agreed to and the contracts are signed, I'm going to work really hard because I've always wanted to do it.
That is a great attitude to have. And I'll tell you another benefit to having an attitude like that is everybody on the crew, the cast and the crew, will notice it immediately, and they'll listen to you much more intensely than they would if you had a gigantic ego and you were overbearing and overly confident. That's a really healthy attitude, Michael. Really healthy.
Well, like I said, I'm very excited about getting to do this.
Yeah. So you and actress Nancy Allen were both in the Philadelphia Experiment, as you mentioned earlier. And I remember the first time I saw her on the screen, she always seemed to have this ultra feminine Marilyn Monroe-like quality that was so noticeable, you almost forgot what was going on in the rest of the scene. What was it in real life that caused you to fall in love with her so quickly? Was she the same way on camera as she was off camera?
Yeah, but not in the same stressful situation.
Right.
She had that voice, that soft whisper voice, which was really charming. And, I'd seen her in other movies, so it was pretty easy.
Yeah. Tell us about your life in general. How do you enjoy spending your time, your free time when you're not working?
Well, the truth of the matter is that when you're not working in Hollywood, you're working at working.
Mm.
But in my time off, I have this great son. He's 20. He's going to be 28 this July. He works for Raytheon. He's a computer engineer, and he's working on all this interesting stuff. We're great friends. I'm going to see him for dinner tonight, and I cook a lot, and I surf.
Yeah.
But I'm writing. I just sold the script that they're shooting. It's called Black Warrant. They're shooting it in Thailand. I may do a role, but it's writing takes up a lot of time also. So like I said, I'm writing, directing, acting, and producing. So that's a pretty full day.
By the way, do you like to write early in the morning or later in the day?
After coffee or while I'm drinking my coffee. So it's early in the day.
Yeah,
But it depends on what time I get up. If I'm up late and I get up at 10, I make my coffee, and so it's from 10 to 2. But if I get up like at 5, I'll I also meditate for an hour before I do anything. So I'm an early riser, I guess.
There's something about the calmness of early morning that makes writing so much better, I think.
You don't have to worry about missing calls. People start calling at like 9 o'clock. So if you're not taking care of all the important stuff early, you get interrupted.
Yeah. So, I watch Clint Eastwood, who is now 90 and whose work as an actor and director just keeps getting better and better. I know that he's a vegan and he seems to live a very sane and normal life. You don't see him getting arrested for drugs or drinking on TMZ every day like a lot of other actors. And you've also had a great deal of success and longevity in the entertainment industry. What do you think has allowed you to be successful for so long when so many of your peers have spun out of control?
Well, like I said, I'm really grateful to be employed in the entertainment industry in the first place. And I'm pretty confident in my craft. I never really stopped studying. I'm a lifetime member of the Actors Studio. And if I go for a long period without acting, I'll go to the studio when it opens up again. So I've said this to other actors that it doesn't really matter what the budget is. My job is between action and cut. And whether it's a $300,000 movie or a $50 million movie, my job is the same. And you don't know which one you're going to do that's going to be the one that makes you, or the one where somebody important will see you and say, hey, I want you in my movie. It happened with me and Brad Furman. I was shooting this little mystery in New Jersey, and I played a cop, which I play, a lot. And the guy who was the bad guy that we were interrogating was in a basketball league here in Beverly Hills, and Brad Furman was on his team, and he was begging Brad to look at his reel, his actor's reel. And so Brad said, okay, fine. Eric at a bar, he directed 2 movies also. Eric, come on, bring your DVD. And he looks at it and he says, is that Michael Pare? And he goes, yeah. He says, do you know how to get a hold of him? He says, yeah, of course. What do you think? I want his number. And he called me at home and said, Michael, I'm making this movie, Lincoln Lawyer. I would love for you to be in it. There's a great role for you. So I went from, like $150,000 movie. I was on it for 5 days to a $25 million movie. And like I say, it's the same job between action and cut. I've got to act.
Yeah. Matthew is a great actor. And I noticed that both you and he have the ability to be sort of very calm. You have this stillness about you on camera. And I think that also appeals to audiences, I
think Matthew is, he appears very calm because he's very focused, but, in person, that's kind of intense. I don't see Matthew as confused or a weakling or not sure of himself at all.
Right.
On camera, he's playing the role and he's playing, he's playing the scene. So he's not confused or wandering or waiting. He appears calm, but he's actually, I think, a very deep and intense person.
Yeah. Both of you seem very reasonable and rational and practical. And I think there's a lot to be said for that, because that's missing in a lot of places these days. So tell me, how do your best jobs come to you? Do they usually come to you through an agent, a manager, or is it you who's seeking them out and and making things happen?
Well, with social media now, people can reach out to you from all over the world. I got one. I'm coming back from the airport yesterday, and I get an email from these guys in Spain that are doing this bank robbery movie, and would I be interested? And I said, sure, send me the script. No, but other times, like Brad Furman called me up. Tom Rosenberg at Lakeshore called me up personally and said, Michael, I'm sending you a script. Will you want to work with me again? And I said, just because he's Lakeshore, I said, absolutely. They got 2 Academy Awards, hanging on their wall. But then, there's also the ones that I'll audition for. But, the guys that know me, I work with the same guys over and over again. Billy Butler, I did a movie called Furnace. And then he called me for this series he's doing for Amazon called The Resonator. It's based on H.P. Lovecraft. And, Brad has called me 4 times on his own. So it's a mixture, but I'll audition. I don't care. I mean, like I say, my job is the same. If you want me to audition, I'll come in and audition. But I'd rather come in than do this home, self-tape stuff. Mm-hmm. Because then I have to think about the technology and the camera angle and does it look good and the lights and all that other stuff instead of just going in and doing my job as an actor.
Do you think most of the agents that you have worked with have simply sat by and waited for the phone to ring with offers, or have they actively gone out and pursued work for their clients?
The biggest mistake I made was leaving William Morris when Tony Howard was my agent. But we had this conflict about a movie the director and I were talking about, and she didn't want me to do it because they hadn't gone through the agent. Mm-hmm. And it ended up, I don't want to tell you which movie it was, but it ended up being an enormous success, an Academy Award winning movie. And my agent wouldn't let me do it because he called me personally. But I should not have left her for that, because I've never had an agent as good as her since.
What do you think made her so good?
She started as a casting agent with one of the biggest. She was with Lynn Stallmaster, who was one of the biggest casting agents in the business. She knew Joy Selznick personally, who was the one who picked me in New York. They just have taste, and she knows who's real and who's not.
Do you, first of all, would you want to work with CAA again, or
CAA? Absolutely. Yeah. Oh yeah, man. I've gone from agent to agent, and I suppose I've never found anybody who could make the calls like the big guys can. When back in the day, I was with ICM, I was with William Morris, I was with CAA, and when you go in for an audition and you have that script, they know that you're of a certain quality and caliber. Now, they know me because I've been doing this for 40 years, and I'll get a shot, but they all want to work with the majors also.
Which one of those 3 agencies today do you think is the most influential?
It's changed because of, there's Endeavor, there's UTA, there's APA, and they all have their superstar, and who's the most influential? It'd have to be still ICM, William Morris, or CAA. William Morris Endeavor is what they are now.
Do you ever spend time on YouTube watching what other people are doing and creating out there? Because YouTube is moving at light speed. It's not just Netflix and it's not just Amazon. YouTube is moving at light speed. It's amazing what's going on.
Streaming is just changed the entertainment industry. Look at there's major mergers going on because the old media guys want to get control of things. Look at Paramount Plus has Yellowstone, right? But that's their tentpole, show. And now since that is such a big hit, they decided they're going to do The Making of the Godfather, $15 million an episode for television. If you get with the right streaming service like YouTube, look at Karate Kid. That was a YouTube show, right?
Yeah.
So, you don't know everybody. It's all about the material. That's what I say. Television is it. It's all about the material. And everybody thinks, oh, television is easy and television is that. But television, whether it's streaming, cable, or, network, you're going into 300 million homes, and not to mention 300 million telephones and computers, right? And it goes global. You know, when I was doing Greatest American Hero or Houston Knights, if you got a 27 share, that's a percentage of the viewing audience, you were a big hit. But now, CSI Miami, they were an enormous hit when they got a 4 share. You know, so how has it changed? It's a global audience now.
Hmm.
And that's also why it's all about the writing. They can have, you know, special effects and they can have big stars and stuff like that, but it really is all about the writing. When me and my wife are looking for a show, we're looking for a compelling show with great characters. And, you know, I'm always looking for a mystery.
You know, a lot of my celebrity friends are moving out of California for all the obvious reasons, taxes, you know, unrest and all that. Do you still enjoy living in California, or are you also contemplating moving out?
I'm waiting to see where my son settles,
Okay.
you know, because he could go to Texas or Boston or, you know, Maine or Massachusetts, wherever the IT company sends him. When he settles down, then I'm going to start thinking about, you know, when I'm 70, I want to be able to babysit and walk the dog, you know.
You know, if you could talk to the 25-year-old version of Michael now, what's the most important thing you would like to tell yourself?
Don't undervalue yourself.
Well, listen, before we wrap things up, is there anything else you would like to promote?
Um, you know, you don't want to promote things before they're a go because it kind of puts the jinx on it.
Okay.
But keep an eye out for me. 2022, there's going to be some really great Michael Pare product coming out.
Mm-hmm. What are you most excited about? Working television because of the speed? There's also a lot of quality in television now. It's amazing. Or
Absolutely.
Do you still prefer motion pictures?
They both have their qualities. You know, in television, I might have a little bit more control. In the movies, if it's big, you have no control. Not me, not yet.
Yeah. Michael, it has been a real pleasure having you on the John Ark Show. I want to wish you continued success and tell you that you are always welcome back on the show, my friend. Thank you very much,
Thanks,
Michael.
John.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that as much as we did. Thanks again for watching. And I want to tell you that we're going to have more great celebrity interviews and more breaking news stories coming up in the future. So we want to encourage you to subscribe to our channel for free and click on the notification bell so you can get notified every time we post a new story. Thank you for watching, and we shall see you soon.